This morning I want to tell a story entitled Pebbles Ghee and get our attention focused on the importance of realizing the effect of our actions, the consequences, and therefore understanding how we create our own karma. We plant seeds and we experience the fruit. And sometimes we have to do this in a roundabout way, like in this story. Once upon a time, a young man's father passed away, and he was very, very attached to the father, and he was bemoaning the loss and thought to himself, if I could get the Buddha to perform the Brahmarandra ceremony, my father's spirit would immediately rise to the heaven world. Now, the Brahmarandra ceremony, according to my understanding, was when the body was brought to the burning ghats, right before the fire completely melted all the bones, but once the flesh had been burned off, take a special stick and smack it at the top of the skull, the seventh chakra, and then the spirit releases to the heaven world. At least that was the belief. Now, the Buddha came teaching or repudiating rites and rituals. He didn't believe that superstitious beliefs should be part of your spiritual practice. And he also decried metaphysics. He just said, be aware of suffering and how you create suffering and the way to end suffering. So, anyway, the young man went to see the Buddha, but you can't just walk up to the Buddha. It's like the President of the United States or some big celebrity. There's an entourage surrounding them, kind of filtering people out, making sure that not everybody gets through. It's not worthy. It could be handled by the lesser higher-ups. Anyway, they saw that this guy, though, was out of his mind, and there was no way that they could appease him or satisfy him, so they led him through to the Buddha. Now, the Buddha was not only the enlightened one, he was also filled with transcendental common sense. He spoke to each person according to their understanding. So if you were an army man, he gave you a military metaphor. If you were a banker, he gave you a financial metaphor. If you were a parent, he gave you a raising the child metaphor or a relationship metaphor, and so forth. So he saw what was going on with the young man. He said, okay, listen, I'll do the ceremony for you. Oh, the young man was thrilled. He said, okay, what do I got to do? Anything. He said, listen, very simple. Get me 2 glasses of water and get some ghee, some clarified butter, and get some pebbles, some little stones. Can you do that? He says, absolutely, I can do that. So he got the 2. He brought them to the Buddha. He says, now, what do you do? Okay, Buddha says, very simple. Take the ghee, pour it into 1 glass, move your hands over the ghee with this and say, O ghee, go down, go down. Then take the pebbles, pour them in the other glass of water, and then move your hands over the top of the glass and say, O pebbles, rise up, rise up. At this point, the young man looks at the Buddha and says, Buddha, I know you're the awakened one, but I didn't know you were such a cosmic joker. What are you telling me? Chant over the ghee, O ghee, go down, go down. Everybody knows that the ghee is lighter than water. It's going to float to the top. It can't go down. Everybody knows stones are heavier than water. It's going to sink to the bottom. It can't rise up. What are you trying to tell me here? And then the Buddha, being very Jewish, answering a question with another question. So let me ask you a question. How come you know so much about natural law when it comes to your father, you're a dumbbell? If your father, while he was alive, did deeds light as ghee, he's going to float up. Who can bring him down? And if your father, while he was alive, did deeds heavy as stone, he's going to drop. Who can pull him up? And with this understanding, the young man realized the truth and then asked the Buddha if he could humbly become his student.